Our next topic, vert versus mini ramp versus park style. How
Hmm.
we approach it. All right, so lately this has been a topic of many discussion and also a lot of questions coming from the public, coming from skateboarders themselves, coaches, and everyone involved in the, you know, park style, discipline, competitive environment, and skateboarding communities. How to approach vert skating, mini ramp skating, and park style skating when you see them and when you judge it during the event. So do you have any tips for our viewers? Because it is very challenging and it might get tricky. So who wants to take first? Shari, any tips on this
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. Well, tips. How I feel about it. I think this is where the importance of understanding park skating, first of all, comes into play, because I think before we had these very two clear disciplines, we've got people coming to a park style competition, coming from a background of vert, sometimes coming from a background of just skating bowl, and they all, come into this competition for a park, and we see some skaters get caught up in skating a bit of a bowl or half pipe in part of the course, or we see some skaters really focusing on those vert tricks or focusing too much on getting the biggest air or getting those 540s in. So I think understanding park style skateboarding, and like I said earlier, looking at those obstacles within the course that have been provided, and if skaters are focusing on those obstacles as well and the flow and using the whole park, etc., then they're not going to get caught up in the mini ramp skating. They're not going to get caught up in but it doesn't matter about the rest of my run. I've just nailed this epic 540 right at the end of my run. So if we're focusing on all these other aspects of park skating, using the whole park, hitting all these different obstacles in unique ways, getting a nice line and flowing it all. I'm not saying I won't see a 540 in there, but they might hit the 540, come out of the deep section and back into the rest of the park. So, I think focusing on that, so getting people to have an understanding of the park style skateboarding, and to those spectators that aren't skateboarders, I think, like I know I've had to explain it many times to people in my life that are not skateboarders, but they're watching skating, is explaining that when they first look at it, it just looks like a big bowl. They're not skateboarders, so they look at the park and it just looks like a big bowl. And I have to point out those little features that make it a park, make it a different terrain to just a big bowl competition or a big vert ramp, and show that these little aspects, these ledges, these spines, these things, some people are going to hit them in really unique, creative ways, and that's what we're looking for. And I think if you focus on the positive, like what you are looking for, it avoids, it takes away from those things we don't want to see. We don't want to see the mini ramp half pipe skating. We don't want to see just a whole ramp focused on big airs. So I think if we focus on what we do want to see, and we're judging accordingly, we will minimize or what we don't want to see so much in a park run. And I think that's what's happening, is people are seeing us judge. They've seen the Olympics and people are thinking, oh wow, that actually scored really high, that run, and that one not so much. So they're starting to learn what the judges want to see. So as judges, the tips would be focusing on that criteria like we've spoken about, making sure they're using full use of the park. You're seeing that creativity in those lines, and the flow. The flow is really important, because you lose the flow if you get caught in a section. You lose the flow when you see a skater skating a half pipe, or skating it a bit like a half pipe, or focusing on the big airs in the deep. They've done 3 or 4 back-to-back sort of like vert big airs. They've lost the flow, and they've lost that cool line. So it all links. So that would be my tip, is focusing on the things we want to see.
All right, makes sense, Shari. And it kind of comes back to what we have discussed in the previous topic, that it also depends on the design of the field of play, design of the skate park, that kind of predetermines the tricks. And correct me if I'm wrong, like, it is not about the style of the tricks, it's about getting stuck with the type of skating only, and not performing on the other parts of the FOP, and not showing the full potential.
I think
that's exactly that. I think just to add on that, when I teach the kids how to skate a bowl compared to how to skate a mini ramp, I tell them that a corner, you know, is a transition that is not in the same, is not put in the same way as just a mini ramp or a vert ramp. And because of the corners, you know, you're pumping, you know, when you're getting your speed in a bowl, there's something that you don't have on a mini ramp or a vert ramp. And let's say, for example, if you have that top rail, like it was in Tokyo, for example, that square rail on the platform, you can use the park as a mini ramp or as a ramp. You're gonna arrive straight into that rail. You're gonna do something stall on that rail. You're not gonna grind it, you're not gonna slide it. But if you use the corner before and you use that speed that the corner is getting you, then you're gonna hit the rail in a diagonal way to slide on it or to grind on it. And that's the whole thing. When someone is skating the bowl in the same way he will be skating a mini ramp or a vert ramp, is obviously not using the whole feature that is offered to him.
And he will prevent himself from using it because you cannot hit every part of the park by skating only in a certain way, right?
Exactly.
Kyle?
I think, yeah, I was gonna say just during the practice rounds that, you know, when we watch that stuff, people want to, obviously they want to play to their strengths, right? So if it's someone that has more of a vert background, they're going to be starting with, all right, where can I do the big airs and this and that. If you have the mini ramp background, they're going to talk about, or that skater will think about, okay, where can I do the spine transfers? What lip tricks can I link together? But realistically, everyone's should be working towards the same thing, which is a blend of all of that. And that's, you know, during the practice sessions, we can see that as judges. I mean, just being skateboarders for the longest time, you can see a guy with a vert background kind of step down to the smaller stuff. And then the mini ramp guys step up to the bigger deep end stuff. So, and then somehow they meet in the middle, and then where the person that wins or does the best, you know, in top three, they blend all that together to where you can't tell what their background really is. Their background is a well-rounded skateboarder, and the best well-rounded skateboarder will win the day.
All right, that makes perfect sense. So it's about the balance of all these styles blended together in a one performance. That it's not about prioritizing one of these styles and basically judging it based on the terrain that it's provided to everyone who's competing in front of you and how they do with it.
Right, and that's the thing, that the vert skaters, if they're losing the flow, they're going to get stuck in the deeper parts of the bowl, and the mini ramp guys are going to be in the shallow end, just, you know, tricking around, and that's you know, when, and that's the thing, if you land low on transition and you're a mini ramp guy, you're going to start trying to just, all right, we'll do a front blunt here, a blunt kickflip, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then the vert guys, they'll lose it. And then they'll start to try to pump to try to find the big wall again. It's like, you need all of that. And that's how you do good in park.
All right.
And I think just to like add in there, I know when I first started judging, and obviously the more confident you become in judging, you sort of become more okay about this. So when you get a bit of criticism sometimes from the public that aren't aware of this, so they might, you know, because what's a crowd pleaser is not always going to be the top scores. So as a judge, it's really important to understand and be able to like have your notes and be able to justify why you know, they got that score and refer to the park style skating. Because I know when I first started judging some park competitions, and some of those skaters, you know, I'm just thinking back home, there's a national comp we judged down the Gold Coast, and it is predominantly very bowl-like. You know, it is a bowl riders competition, but they get caught in the deep end at the back, and some skaters will get caught there for the last 15 seconds of their run doing it, you know, 3-4 tricks back and forward like a half pipe. That still is exciting to the crowd. You know, if they're nailing big airs and things like that, that can be a real crowd pleaser still. So you've got this crowd that is like, wow, that was an epic run. But then they see the score and they think, what?
And you get booed.
Like, what are they on? Yeah. So, you know, being confident in how you're judging and what you're judging, and having your notes, and, you know, being able to clarify why, it was a sick run, it was sick tricks in there, but it didn't actually, you know, utilize those other aspects of the park or the flow, etc., like we spoke about before.
That's something that you do have to, you know, you come across, like getting booed. And it's funny, like, I mean, if you know, the first couple of times it happens, I mean, over years of judging, you'll get it. But you have to remember, as a judge, you're the one there being, you know, paid for your opinion, and you're the one that, you're not cheering for anyone. Everyone in the crowd has someone that they want to cheer for. You're there to judge equally, and that's the difference. So if you get,
and be fair.
yeah, it'd be fair. If you get, and if they don't understand, like you're saying, Sherry, if they don't understand because, you know, of their ignorance to what we're trying to do, then that's okay. That's okay. You're as a judge, you're there to not only judge fairly, but teach people why things are good and why things aren't. That's the whole point.
Yeah, educate.
Yep.
Perfect, guys. Thank you very much for this. It makes perfect sense. Viewers, listen and learn. This has been a valuable lesson. And now let's move to the next topic.